Hey Shiv, it's been a while since we've done our last episode. I can't remember how long ago it's been, but a lot's happened, like looking at your physical appearance and everything. So, yeah, I guess tell us a bit about why we've been away and what's been going on.
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. Um, yeah, I think we haven't posted for a while. Um, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in April. So around that time, we're recording episodes and had a bit of a chronic cough, itchy skin, and went and got it checked, and then next thing you know, you've been diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. So blood cancers, the way they're staged is a little different for Hodgkin's compared to different cancers. So stage 4 does sound very scary, but just finished treatment. I just wanted to use the opportunity, I guess, to talk about my journey, my experience. Um, Unfortunately, we were recording during treatment, and we lost one of those recordings. I don't know how, but I think I just wanted to use this opportunity, yeah, just to, I guess, talk about it a bit more, raise awareness. Um, what chemotherapy was like, what the whole diagnosis journey was like, how I've found, the whole experience overall. Um, and I hope it's relatable to people. Being young and being diagnosed with a form of cancer, it's quite confronting and it's quite daunting. But you sort of have to get through it. Um, yeah, I mean that's probably the summary. Is yeah, one of us, me, was diagnosed with cancer, and we finished treatment. So now we're just looking forward to the next part of it.
Yeah, it's great to hear that you've gotten through treatment and now you're here officially. We're able to have this conversation.
Yes, very
Like,
much. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
I guess like I'm just gonna start off with like when you were first diagnosed, like how did you obviously feel about it and how did you respond to that?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Initially, when you get told, it's quite confronting. It's a deer in the headlights moment. It's I went for an X-ray and then went for a CT scan and got told to go see a hematologist. And so you don't think much about it until I went and saw my hematologist, and he said, we're most likely you've most likely got Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's what we're suspecting, and that's what we can't officially diagnose you. We need a biopsy, we need to do PET scans, etc. I think that was the first moment where it hit me like, oh shit, like I've got something very serious going on that it could potentially kill you. It will kill you if untreated, which is scary because certain diseases, certain things you come across, you don't think about it of it killing you, and you don't face your mortality. You get a pneumonia, you get a flu. Pneumonia, like a different case, there's a chance that it could kill you. Lower probability depending on what your health conditions are, but a cold, a flu, stomach flu, those sort of things, it won't kill you. Like the chances of it killing you is very low. But to be confronted with a disease that could actually kill you is quite daunting. Yeah, it's very confronting at the start, and then also thinking about chemotherapy and what treatments like, and then you see the stigma around chemotherapy in movies and TV shows and how people talk about chemotherapy, and it's very scary, all the side effects and everything that you're potentially going to face. It's quite confronting at that point as well. So yeah, initially when you got told, it's shocking. It's a moment where you just sit and try to process as much as you can, but then the reality is that things move very quickly as well. Um, and got that, and then you got told, okay, you got to go get a lung biopsy done. Now you've got to get your scans done in 2 weeks. Okay, I'm going to see you in 4 days again and see what's up. Okay, now your biopsy results have come back with this. We have to cut out a lymph node from your neck. We need to have a wisdom tooth removed so it doesn't get infected during chemo. Like all those things in like a period of 4 weeks, 3 weeks. It's just chaos. There's a lot going on, so you can't even sit and actually process your emotions. You just go with the flow. Yeah,
Yeah, that's very overwhelming. Like in 3 weeks, cramming all of that in, like physically, mentally, emotionally, must have been very exhausting.
for sure. Yeah, I think I will say one thing. I think I was in a position where I was young, overall healthy. Um, and the biggest one I say is that I didn't have much responsibilities, right? So if I compare myself to someone that's got a mortgage, they've got kids, they've got a family, they've got a wife, that's a lot harder. That stuff is a lot harder to deal with. I think for me, it was just home and work and mates. The responsibilities I have is very small. Um, so it gives me a bit more time to go through it, process it better, not have to worry about other things. But I feel for people that have other responsibilities and so much going on in their lives and other people relying on them, you know. And that's the thing with this stuff is that there's no perfect age to get it at, nor is it a perfect thing to get, or there's nothing good about it at any point. Um, but you try to find the silver linings in your situation and be grateful for what you have in that point of time. And so, someone in their 80s gets it, they still have to go through it. Their struggles are different compared to a 20-year-old that has to go through it compared to a 40-year-old that has to go through it. But fundamentally, going through the whole process of diagnosis and treatment is shit, like the best way to put it. But yeah, you've just got to do it. But yeah, no, it is overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. But I think when you actually have to do it and you have no choice, you just have to do it. Like you don't have time to think about, oh, I'm afraid of needles, I'm afraid of this, I don't want to do this. You just don't have time for that. You just have to do it. Like your brain is just autopilot. That's it. Let's go. Like you just power through it. And your mind is actually a lot more powerful than you think. I'll say that as well. Your mind is a lot more powerful than you think.
So, like, speaking of the mind, right? What would you say was like the turning point during chemo where you felt that shift in your mindset, where you're like, this is like,
Yeah, look, I think for me, the turning point was, if we talk about chemotherapy, so diagnosis was done, started chemotherapy 2 weeks later. That was an intensive protocol. And it was 3 straight days of chemo. My first day, I not to overshare a lot of it, but my first round was terrible. After 3 days of straight chemo, on day 4, I tried to go for a walk. And my heart rate was just unbelievably high. I'm talking about 150, 160 beats a minute. And I'm talking just walking 100 meters. So that was a moment where my body was telling me, dude, like, this is real stuff. This is serious stuff. But I think for me, as each round of treatment went, as each round of chemo went, it got easier for me, at least. And that's usually not the norm for people. My first few rounds of nausea was terrible. But I think the turning point for me was when I was able to go for long walks during treatment, and sort of maintain a decent level of cardio health. And what I mean decent for someone going through chemotherapy, not an athlete, but being able to walk an hour and a half straight, still elevated heart rate, but still feeling good about myself. And I think the biggest thing was it set new benchmarks in my head. Okay, I can walk an hour and a half. What else can I do? I can cycle. I can go in the gym and cycle. What else can I do? Can't lift weights because I had a PICC line in my arm. That's a separate case. And then, yeah, so it set new benchmarks. And then that's why I say the mind is a lot more powerful than you think it is. Because every time you set a new benchmark, that becomes a new standard for yourself. And again, I think I was fortunate that my side effects were there, but it didn't hit me as hard as it hits a lot of other people. So I don't know if I consider myself an outlier of impact of treatment. Obviously, hair loss, nausea, feeling sick, fatigue, all of that things, it happened, but it wasn't as bad as other people's experiences from what I hear. And that I think helped a lot is knowing, okay, it's like you can't hurt me that bad. I can push myself a little bit. And I think it was just a matter of pushing myself more and more and more towards the end where, I was able to sit on an exercise bike for an hour at a consistent pace. And that for me was like, okay, this is incredible work for where you are. So yeah, I think that was probably the turning point for me was being able to exercise.
Like,
And I think another one, sorry to interrupt, but I think another one for me was being able to go out a little bit and have a normal thing. Like when we came in here and had a chat, like during treatment, it was like, shit, like I can still talk. I can still think. I can still remember things. I can still articulate things. So that was also a turning point. It was just these new benchmarks. Yeah.
yeah, no, I was gonna ask, like, that's great, and like I was just gonna ask as well, like, what makes you be able to go for a walk and, like, go on the bike and do those types of activities? Because I would imagine even people that don't go through what you've gone through, right? It's hard for them to just get out of the bed and actually just go and exercise.
Mm.
But being in your position, there's so many, like, in your mind, it's a lot harder of a resistance to go against that. So it's just like, what makes you be able to be like, okay, like, I don't care, I'm just gonna go for a walk. Like, where does that come from? Yeah.
I think it came from wanting a routine for me. So it was, all of a sudden you go from being able to work, going to the office, coming home, exercising, going to bed, to going to the hospital, blood test, coming home, going back to the hospital for a follow-up, coming back, trying to work in between. Your routine is out of place. There is no routine. There's no set purpose. That's the biggest one. There's no set purpose. Your only purpose at that point is to survive, is to get through treatment. Like, that's your only purpose. So for me, it was about setting a normal routine. And so I found, okay, like days that I have treatment, I can't exercise. Like I cannot exercise. I just can't exercise. But I sort of asked myself, what if I did? Like, what if I've just come back from day 2, and this was round 3, I remember. Came back, felt a little nauseated, ate something, felt better. So surprisingly, when you eat, you feel better because your stomach is full. And I don't know the full mechanisms of that. They give you very strong anti-nausea stuff, which is incredible. But it's sort of, I came back, felt nauseated, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. And I went for a walk, and it was in my head. I'm like, okay, well, if after getting infused for 2 hours, I can go for a walk, that means I can go for a walk when I'm not being infused. Like, it was just that sort of shift. And then it's like, therefore, I can set a routine where I know at this set time I want to go for a walk. So I think the resistance was just, for me, it was just in my head. Like, again, it was just trying to find new boundaries. Like, how much can I push my boundaries a little bit? And it got to a point where towards the end, I didn't feel as nauseated as I would at the start. And I don't know if it was all in my head. I don't know if it was just a physical response. I genuinely don't know. But yeah, I think for me, I had all the excuses I could make. But what's the point of making those excuses? It doesn't help making those excuses, right? Like, what helps is sort of taking action. Like, you have to take action in helping your mind, helping your body. Everyone's different. That's the biggest takeaway, though, is everyone that goes through treatment handles it very differently. There are people that still exercise a lot during treatment. There are some people that aren't able to exercise. So you just come across a very big spectrum of people that go through treatment and the way they handle it. And there's no right or wrong. Like, someone being able to walk 5 or 6 Ks during treatment is just as an achievement as someone that can get out of bed and make breakfast for themselves for that day and then sleep. It's those little wins. I think I've spoke about it in little episodes. It's like, you just want those little wins, and you get those little wins, and it's not a competition of, I can do more than that person that gets out of bed and just can make breakfast. It's not that. It's that you get more out of competing with yourself. Just setting new boundaries for yourself. And you realize as you push those boundaries, there's a lot that you learn about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really well put. I
I hope
think
so.
no, that's good. I think I think also like part of that is also by looking after yourself and just by pushing yourself, you're in a way being, I guess you could say like you're prioritizing yourself and therefore you're being a bit more kinder to yourself as well by doing those activities and things for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think it's very important. I think I like how you said that. Like, it's important to be kind to yourself in the process. Like, you're going through a lot already, so you're not trying to flog yourself. I need to run 5Ks. I need to sweat. I need to do all of that. Like, you don't need to do all of that, but you need to be able to do things that you thought weren't possible. At the start of treatment, I didn't think it was possible to walk because of all the things I was hearing. Like, you're gonna be in bed. Like, you're gonna be so tired. You're gonna be thinking. And don't get me wrong, you have those moments, fatigue and all that stuff. Like, it does hit you at times, but it also doesn't. And when it doesn't, you use that. Okay, I'm not fatigued. I can really do good for myself today. I think that's also another point is when you feel good, you want to do good things. But when you feel terrible, you give yourself the rest that you need. And so your good days, you celebrate. You go out, you celebrate those wins, you take those wins. The days that you don't feel well, still celebrate that you're still able to get up and do something. If it means you can get up, go to the bathroom, have a shower, eat, and you sit on Netflix all day, that is just as an achievement as getting up, going for a long walk, because it depends on how you feel. And full disclaimer, this is only for people that are going through chemotherapy. That's that I would say that I'm speaking of the perspective. If you're not going through any medical treatment, then you have no excuse to sit there all day and do nothing. It's as simple as that. It sounds harsh, but it's as simple as that. Like, you have absolutely no excuse in your mind, because believe me, there are a lot of people that I know in the clinic that I met that could have made so many excuses not to exercise or do something. They still did. And they did it for survival. They did it for their kids. They did it for their family. They did it to stay alive. They did it for themselves. They did it for other people. So that's a big call out. If you're not doing it because you just don't want to do it and you've got no significant health issues going on in your life, that's a choice that you're making. And it's up to you what choice, what consequences you want to bear from those choices. You spoke about it really well. I'm not going to take all your words, but no, like that's just how it is. Like, it's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I think that I hope that this episode inspires those people to do something about it. Yeah.
I really hope so too. Like, I think like it's not talking down on people that can't get up. It's about empowering people to get up. And the only way people are empowered to get up is when they can relate or see things that we can relate, one, or two. Sometimes people just need to be told harshly or directly that you're not doing well now, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be doing well in 2 years, 5 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever that time frame is. It's about little changes. I think we're so stuck on, I'm guilty of this, do it all the time, like trying to make big changes, drastic changes straight away. And it's not helpful. I compare it to those little walks. They compounded over time. Where towards the end of my treatment, I can then go sit on a cycle for 45 minutes, push my heart rate up and down, get that heart rate variability, adaptability, see my heart rate, like those little things I can start then looking at. And it's going, okay, I can do this now. My PIC line is out. I've got the clearance. I can go to the gym. I can lift weights, all that sort of stuff. Like, it's just little wins like that compound over time. And 6 months ago, I felt absolute trash, physically, for example, like when treatment started. Now, I feel good. Like, I feel really, really good about myself. And where things are heading. Is there anxiety? Of course there is. No shit, But yeah, like, it's just, it's compounding. Compounding interest, compounding wins, compounding whatever it is such a they call it like the something law of the universe or something, like one of the biggest laws. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, I think they call it compound interest. Like Albert Einstein probably said this was like it's the eighth wonder in the world.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's something like
Something
that.
along
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
yeah.
It's the eighth one of the world. Yeah, compound interest, but compounding, like I think applies to a lot of different things. Like, but also like chemotherapy drugs compounding in your body as each round goes is not ideal either. Like, I didn't realize how drastic it was until my hair started growing back a week after, and then it all fell off again. And I'm like, bruh, like this is like it's serious. That's when you know. And I remember like when I was given day after bleomycin and vincristine, like my fingertips were tingling. And I'll talk more about my side effects later, but my fingertips started tingling. Still tingle to this day. Like it's a bit of a reminder. When I was given bleomycin, which is known to cause lung toxicity, like I thought I was invincible. Like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Couldn't even walk 300 meters without being puffed out and feeling like I couldn't breathe. So that's how you know, like, this thing goes in and affects you. You just don't think about it sometimes because, I don't know, when you're young, full of testosterone, you're just like, of it. Like, nothing can beat me. But it's not the case. You can't have that ego either.
Yeah, I was gonna ask as well, like, what would you say was the hardest part of this treatment journey? There's a lot of elements to this. Like, obviously, it's like identity.
Yeah.
Then there's like physical appearance change. But what would you say was the hardest to accept? And
The change. Yeah.
like, yeah, physical, everything.
Everything. The change.
Identity,
I think
yeah.
the change was the hardest part. Physical appearance, yeah. Like I look at older episodes and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, but also when I say change, I mean, you change as a person. Your environment changes. You're forced to adapt. It's hard. That stuff is hard. Like having to get treatment done. You feel terrible for like a few days. You start feeling better. Then you have to go back and get more treatment. That's the worst bit of it, I think, is you see yourself change. Like it's that motion of change. Things are good. Well, you're eating well. You're walking well. Things are good. You're feeling good. Okay, now you've got treatment again. You got to go through that again, that cycle again. And then you do it again and again. And it's just that stuff mentally is points where you're just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And you have those moments. Everyone does. But you just push through. Like, again, it's like, what choice do I have? I don't have a choice. Like, you don't, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So pick your poison. Would you rather choose death or poison? And I think in a lot of cases, you would rather choose the poison. It's an unfair reality, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think that's probably the hardest bit was the change element. And you change as a person as well. You become a bit more bitter. Your mood changes a lot during treatment. Heavy doses of steroids, not tren or those performance enhancing steroids, prednisone steroids, immunosuppressants, which are known to cause significant side effects as well. You can tell my face is very puffy from it. Just all the water weight that I've gained over time, over the last few months. But yeah, you change as a person. You sort of grieve the old person you were. Like you grieve the pre-cancer person you were and the post-cancer person, and you try to accept the new cancer person. But there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of lessons from that as well. But then there's a lot of insecurities and fear. But then there's a lot of strength. So you just become a new person in a good way. But you also retain like your personality, I think. Like I think I have still who I am. But I think I see things very differently now.
Yeah, I think you haven't changed in terms of personality.
No.
Well, speaking of that as well, would you say you're still in denial of this new identity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off very quickly there. Yes, big time. Denial, big one. Denial. Everyone's in denial. The big D word, denial. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't accept it. Like you're like, how did it happen? Why did it happen? How did I get through all of this? Everything's a blur as well. It's weird to say, but everything is such a blur.
Like it all happened so quick and it was just very
Yeah,
intense. You
yeah,
just don't. Yeah.
yeah. It was like, it was quick. It was very quick. Like it just, all of a sudden I started, and then I was sitting there for the last time, and I'm thinking how, like, it all happened. Like, 24 sessions of chemo, over 40 hours of active treatment, 121 days. Like it all just came to an end, and it's like, whoa. Like when you put it in that perspective, minutes and seconds spent there, you're like, whoa, like how many different blood tests, scans, is this all just ends like drastically. It's like, all right, back to normal life. You're like, this is interesting. I can see why some people struggle with that. Like I haven't struggled too much with that. Only because I think going back into the office and the nature of my work as well, it just allows me to switch off the treatment part. It allows me to have a better purpose and more focused on other things. But man, I feel for people that don't have that, they're home, again, if they have kids, like it is a very shit reality to accept. It doesn't hit you until you're walking in the city, for example, and like you have no eyebrows, no hair, and you're like, oh, like I actually look different to everyone else, and you're like, okay, no, you actually went through something, and it just kind of hits you. To this day, I can't look at the color red properly. I can look at that, it's fine, but I can't look at red liquid. Makes you feel nauseated. Sometimes I get the hospital smell that hits me, like out of nowhere. That's just that bleach hospital smell. People might relate to that. Sometimes I still know that beeping sound of that machine. So when the drugs are done, it'll tell you like that's the sound in my head. Got that sound in my head. The way the nurses would check my drugs, ask my name, date of birth, the drugs they're going to administer, the whole process, all like purple gowns, all of that, like it still sticks with you. Even though as much as you try to like forget about it, it does stick with you. But yeah, I think you have moments of denial. It's hard to accept, and it'll take time to accept. I think once I start getting the hair back, all that sort of things, and sort of move forward a bit more, that's when things will probably get better. I think more accepting, but I don't think anyone ever accepts their identity. Like everyone's identity keeps changing as well in life. People go through different sufferings, different things in life, different circumstances, different pain. No one ever comes to peace with their identity. But the only way you find peace is through gratitude and finding the silver lining. And the only way you get gratitude is if you suffer. Like you're not going to be gratitude when your things are good. You're grateful when things are bad. It's very true. And so that's where you find real peace. As ironic as that sounds, you actually find peace in your suffering rather than in happiness.
It's a very interesting paradoxical sentence. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like that's a good point about identity. Like we're always shifting and changing our identity regardless. Like maybe at some point when you reach a certain age, like it doesn't change as much. But I think like you're right. Like ultimately, I think it's more about like accepting the faith, because like whatever it's been handed to you, you have no control over some of those things. So it's just like, as unfortunate as bad as it is, sometimes you just have to accept. Then you can, I think, be in present and living in the present. Because I feel like some people who deny like whatever's happened to them, they stay stuck in the past, and then they can never really live in the present and move towards the future. I think that is obviously very difficult when you're going through like tragic and like very unfortunate circumstances. But instead of accepting identity, which as you said is always going to change and fluctuate, it's just more of like accepting the fate that's been handed to you, as unfortunate as it is. And maybe for some people, and I'm curious as well, like how you're sort of dealing with that denial of currently what you've gone through. Is it like, you said like gratitude as well. I feel like is it like spirituality, or is there something else that helps sort of give you that greater gratitude as well. Because I assume prior to that, you like looking if you look before it, like you probably you didn't have as much gratitude as you have now, I guess, is the way to put it. And you probably are more like mentally a lot more resilient, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well put. I think every time I don't want to do something, I remind myself that you've sat in a chemo chair 24 times. And you've sat there actively being essentially poisoned or infused with very harsh chemicals. And you've survived that. Like, what if you've gotten through that? That was probably one of the most lowest points in your life. Today you can wake up, you brush your teeth, you shower, go to the bathroom, you wear clothes, nice clothes. You're able to get on public transport, go to the city. One of the most, people will question this, but Sydney City is beautiful. Travel in.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you walk through, you embrace people around you. You can go and eat whatever food you will feel like, whatever you want. You can go sit in an air-conditioned office, yap with your colleagues for half the day, get work done. You still that's the best part of it. As weird as that sounds, like as people might say, oh, you're part of the rat race, the corporate thing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you are. But you can also go sit in a chemo chair and then get out and then feel nauseated, feel absolutely terrible, feel like you don't want to drink water. You feel so sick that you don't even feel like eating. If you move, you feel like you're going to vomit. Would you rather have that? Or would you rather go and sit in a nice air-conditioned office and work? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, every day you get given a choice on how you want to live your life or how you want to do things. And when you've been at your lowest point, you realized how that was. And then when you don't have to go through that, it's a brand new beginning in a way. And you have full autonomy of having good health, everything working for you. Your legs work, your arms work, your brain works. What more do you need? Right? Like that's the mentality I sort of rose. I feel okay. My legs work. My arms work. My hands work, even though they tingle, they work. I can hold a pen. I can write on a whiteboard. What more do I want? Right? It's like you need to start accepting the things that are good in your life and not focus on things that are shit in your life. It's as simple as that. And gratitude comes from the fact that you embrace every day as a new day. I'm grateful that I can do these things today. How many people can't do those things? How many people can't afford those things, for example? How many people who live in third world countries can't do those things? So the opportunities you're given and, the accessibility you have to things is a lot greater than a lot of other people. So take advantage of it, I think that's the biggest one, like just being grateful for each day. And you sort of, like when you've been faced with your own mortality and you've been at your lowest point and your health isn't the greatest, like when your health is great, you start to embrace that more and you start to take each day more seriously than you would have in the past. And it's very important to do that. And you don't fear death per se. Of course, you don't want to die, but you don't fear it as much either. Like you sort of accept it that it's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, like that, when you were saying, like, being sat on a chemo chair instead you're on an office chair, like, when you were saying all of that, I was just like vividly imagining that. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's a very powerful perspective because, like, and then you're saying, like, you're surrounded by colleagues and coworkers, whereas when you're in the hospital, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Ruminating.
For sure. Like, it's all your brain thoughts. But I will say one thing, like, the nurses and the people I was treated by were absolutely incredible. Like, my cardiac cancer therapy center, one of the incredible team. Like the nurses there, the whole team, just like I can't even put it into words. You know how great they are and what they were able to do. They made a place where you think is absolutely crap, and it is. There's a lot of sick people. There's a lot of different circumstances people are going through there. You've got a plethora of people. You've got people that are terminal to people that are just there for a few months, people that have been there for years. It's all a range. It's a spectrum, right? And yeah, like you're right. Like that's you're sort of alone in your mind there. In your head is alone, and you're just focused on that treatment element. Whereas at work, you're not focused on that. You know, you can focus on other things, better things. But yeah, it's a part. Yeah, imagine yourself in a chemo chair, or would you rather be in a chemo chair, or an office chair? An office chair for sure, any day. So you know, now I've got that opportunity. So why am I? What's there for me to complain about? You know, terrible things happen all the time. Just what are you supposed to do? But I don't think this would apply to someone that's lost their kid or their partner, for example, or you know they're dealing or their kid is sick or anything like that. I'm not. That's. I'll say one thing: there are circumstances in life where it's just unimaginable pain. It's just unimaginable pain. Like I would not be saying this to someone, advice to just move on and all that grateful, all of that stuff to a parent that's dealing with a kid going through cancer, you know, terminal illness, or they've just lost their child. Like that sort of grief and how you deal with that is very different. This is purely from a perspective of Gen Z that just went through treatment. So it's very different circumstances. But yeah, I think it applies to about 90% of people, I would say, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I think grief is a very complicated one as well, especially when it's associated with someone like loss of a loved one. I think that's like one fear that every single person has.
Oh,
I think.
for sure.
And if you don't, I think you're not a human then.
No,
Like to be honest, if you don't have that,
yeah.
like if you don't have that level of grief or something, when you lose a loved one, there's something wrong with you.
Or you
like,
could potentially lose them.
Yeah, or you
well.
could potentially lose them. It's just like there's something wrong with that person.
Yeah.
Like to put it blunt.
Yeah.
Because I think every single person, if I was asked them what the greatest fear is, it would be that.
Yeah.
Unless they've lost everyone already, but it's just like, and they were in like, you know, war countries or something like that, third world countries or something. But like for most people, I think when I ask people that question, what's like your greatest fear? It's not really like age or like fear of death. It's actually that one, which is the most common.
Yeah, there's an element of attachment to that as well. Like I know the Bhagavad Gita, like the Hinduism talks about this a lot. Is it's weird to say, like I don't mean this in a bad way, of course, but all your relationships here, they're not. I wouldn't say they're superficial, but they're man-made, created attachments, and they're all through emotions and human behavior and connection, wanting that connection, right? Like a mother giving birth to a child, there's a very deep level of connection there. But the truth about the afterlife is you don't have your family with you in the afterlife. Depends on what you believe, right? Like what I believe is you're just one soul. You're here alone. You come here alone. You die alone. Heaven or the concept of heaven or the afterlife, a good afterlife is not based on living with attachments and your family. It's about being at peace with yourself and the good things you've done in life. So, you know, you're alone. Your whole journey is alone. And the reality is that no one will like you are responsible for yourself at the end of the day as adults, I think. Like it's just you in this world. And the support system you have around you and all those sort of things, they're great. And they're the one, those things will help you. But ultimately, it's all you. That was a reality that came to me when I was when I was going through chemo. You're sitting in that chair alone. You're the only person sitting in that chair. You know, you don't have someone else sitting with you also getting infused. That's a family member, for example. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, diseases, you have to go through it by yourself. Like there's just that element of it's all attachments are relationships. And if you become too attached, that's why breakups hurt. Because you're just so attached to the person. Your whole routine, everything is based on that person. um, the future, what you hoped for, doesn't work out, you attach to that outcome. So, yeah, attachment's a big, but you need it as well to survive. You can't just be a monk and not have any attachments, human connections. You need human connections to thrive and survive. That's how we're designed to work as well. So, but ultimately, you die alone. Like, that's just the reality, right? As morbid as that sounds.
Yeah, I think like to emphasize on your point as well. I mean, if you want to be a monk, go ahead, no problems with that. But
Of course, yeah.
I think like even a monk has an attachment to something. Like even though they're trying to detach themselves away from the world, they still have some sort of connection with this religion that they're following. So it's like you could argue there's still a connection somewhere. So I think like I mean that gives them purpose. So I think like ultimately, I guess what I was trying to say as well is um, like you will still feel something though if you do lose a loved one.
Of
Even
course,
no
yeah,
matter
yeah.
how detached you are to this world, you will experience some level of grief or sadness or something. And I think the thing as well, like coming to your point of being alone, the truth is that feeling that you have in that emotion is something that you will go through alone. Despite the fact that you have friends and colleagues that can empathize, they won't have, even if you have a twin, they won't experience that emotion that you're having the same either. Like everyone, like yeah, is born alone, dies alone. Everyone goes through their emotions alone. Ideally, like when people say I try to understand you, the truth is they're not going to understand it. They won't. They don't have the same. They don't have the same like millisecond or whatever level of experience as you, because you're born different, you're raised different. Like I mean, you're born same, but it's like what your upbringing and everything was very different. So it's like how you process emotions, how you experience it is so different. So completely agree. Like everything you go through is alone. But
Yeah.
I guess like obviously there's like power and connection as well. But that is true. And I think that emotions and stuff that you go through was ultimately gonna be alone. As much as you have people around you and try to understand you. And that's something that I think is hard for people to probably grasp the idea of going through that alone.
I think a big part of it is as well is that you need to accept that not everyone is going to be like you in the same way of thinking. Whether it's work ethic, whatever it is, right? Like you can talk all about setting new boundaries, pushing yourself. Some people just don't want to do it and they're not going to have the will to do it. And they'll find all the excuses in their life to justify that. But why do they do that? And it goes back to your point. It's based on the experiences and their perspectives, you know? So everyone's got a different journey, and I think everyone will figure out their own shit at some point. There's no point trying to save people at times. I think sharing your experiences is one thing. Trying to save other people, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think like you could try to, but I think like at some point, like if it doesn't work, it's just at some point you have to value your own peace. I think.
Oh, for sure. I think some people just do what they want to do, what they think is best for them. If it means a middle finger to everyone else, it is what it is. It is what it's for.
But
I wanted to share actually some of the things that helped me get through chemotherapy. Very important to share that. I think exercise was a huge one. There's a lot of research that suggests that exercise of any form does help you with, treatment related side effects, but also the generation of new cells or something like that, and muscle synthesis helping your cells grow. And I don't know the full science behind it. I'm not a scientist. Just based on research paper I read, which I can, happily quote and provide the links to. But exercise was a big part that helped, and it just from experience, it's helped a lot of other people as well. Hydration, as hard as it is, you've just got to find liquids to chug and find a way to get those liquids in. It's hard because your mouth changes, the taste, everything tastes bitter. You've got a weird metallic taste for a while. It's hard. I'll admit that it was hard. I did cordials, flavored water where I could. Obviously high in calories water is probably the best part, but hydration was the key, I think. Especially before your infusions. So my first day, I would probably try to aim for about 2-3 liters in the morning of liquid. And I found that it did lessen the impact of treatment over time as well. And it helped flush it out quite quickly. But there's no evidence to suggest that drinking a lot of water will flush out the chemo a lot quicker. Does it get the body out of does it get the drugs out of your system? Yes. Does it get it out of quicker? I don't know the answers to that. So a lot of people will say drinking more water means you will get the chemo out of, which means lessen the impact of chemo. No. I don't think that's true. In saying that, hydration will help you deal with a lot of different things. So that I'm not going to preach here and say have a good diet. My diet was absolutely terrible. Sorry, itchy nose. My diet was absolutely terrible. I'll admit that. Put on weight, but that was because I was on heavy doses of steroids as well, which causes significant hunger. You're just eating all day. I mean, where you could try to prioritize whole foods, that helps. You know, I was eating a lot more fruits and veggies, I will say that, but then I would have moments where I would have a good, nice El Jano meal. Sourcing your food a lot, spicy foods avoid if you can, causes stomach discomfort. I learned that the hard way. That was diet, but I think the hospitals can provide dietitians and that sort of stuff as well. I probably should have seen one, but in saying that, got through it, so that doesn't matter. Journaling and writing down your thoughts each day, big part that helped getting through the mental side of treatment. And journaling isn't, do your diary, blah, 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 blah. You need to get all poetic and philosophical like you're Shakespeare. No, it's just being aware of your body is a big one. I think what helped me was finding the patterns in what I was going through. So I knew that days 1, 2, and 3 of my infusions, I would feel nauseated. How do I deal with my nausea? I would eat ginger food, try to incorporate ginger, anti-nausea pills as well. But then you also get constipation from it as well. How do you deal with that? Well, you want to prioritize foods that are high in fiber. Again, hydration helps with that. But just journaling what you're feeling on a day-to-day basis helps find that pattern, and it makes it easier to deal with it as the rounds go on. I found. Support network talking helps as well, but just depends on, if you have that availability, if you need to go see a therapist or whatever it is, use that. It helps a lot, I think. I had relatively good sleep during my treatment, but I know a lot of people don't as well. So wherever you can find the rest, give your body rest. Your body only heals is when you give it rest. Like when you're sleeping, that's when your body's healing. When you're chilling out a little bit, that's when your body's healing. But exercise is also healing your body. So it's finding the right balance between the two, but give yourself a lot more rest. I was grateful. I was privileged, I would say, that I was still able to work from home at that arrangement. A lot of people don't have that as well, so I can completely understand that. But I think just doing small puzzles or just keeping your brain occupied, giving yourself a bit of a purpose, I would say, will really help drive that forward. It makes time go quicker. It keeps your social life a little bit active. But, if you want to pick up a new hobby, whatever it is, give yourself a purpose, give yourself a bit of a routine, something that you can just do on a day-to-day basis that just, between 9 and 12, I'll probably read a book. And then between 12 and 1, I'll have lunch. And then 1 to 3, I'll sleep. 3 to 5, I'll watch Netflix, whatever it is. If you have kids, different case. So this. Why did I laugh like that? Fuck. I'll edit that out. But I think for kids, it's different for people. But I think just finding a routine that helps. Those are the main things. I think just being in touch with just knowing what's going on in your body. Like, You get a fever, you don't feel right, something doesn't feel right, speak to your care team. Very important. And raise these things with your nurses and clinical nurses and doctors as well. You know what you're feeling. Everyone goes through different types of things. So, if you have tingly fingers, tell them you have tingly fingers. If you feel like you can't breathe, tell them you can't breathe. If you don't see improvements in yourself a few days after treatment, get it checked, because, you might, like, let's say you have a 3-week cycle, like the first week you might feel absolute trash, to the last 2 weeks you might feel okay. So, but if you don't see that, that's your body telling you something and you should get it checked. But also another point I want to make is self-advocating for yourself. I'm not going to say don't be too trusting of doctors. Like they do an incredible job, the team, but just know what you're going through yourself. Like just understand what your treatment is, why you're going through this treatment, how do these chemo drugs sort of work in your body. It's overwhelming. And look, people deal with it differently. So I'm not going to sit here and preach that, you should go and read all these research papers on chemo, but just understand if you're going through different chemo drugs, what effects those chemo drugs have. Like bleomycin, for example, known to cause lung toxicity. Doxorubicin, known to cause cardiotoxicity. Vincristine, known to cause neuropathy in your fingertips. Those are the main call-outs. Cyclophosphamide, I had very sinus issues from it. Like my nose would go super cold and I'd have a headache from it. It make me feel very drowsy. Decarb ETOP, not too much of an effect. It affects other parts of your body, but yeah, like you need to be aware of that a little bit. If it means you have to sit there and do a bit of research and you have the mental capacity and the emotional to do it. If you don't, that's also okay. I'm not saying you absolutely have to, but just know what you're going to expect. And I think know the side effects that you're going to go through and just come to terms with it a little bit and just understand that you're going to go through it. But try to find ways around it if you can. But it's very hard when it hits you hard. So I think those would be my tips. If I was to really summarize what helped me get through chemo, I think those are the main pillars for sure.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think that would be really helpful for people that are obviously going through it, or and I think like even people that aren't really going through it or have something going on, like the thing that you talked about was like tracking or journaling what your body is going through, and I think I should actually start doing that, because it made me think, like, when you have neck pain or whatever pain, like you should start to like write it down and actually start to try things out, like yourself. Like maybe it's just like need to do some sort of like watch some videos online of how to train my neck, strengthen it, and then if stretch or something, try it, see how it goes for a week. Use the scientific method. Maybe it's just neck pain.
Yeah,
that's my hypothesis. Why? Don't know what the causes are. Probably because of like how I sat on the chair. It's just like, what can I do about it? Okay, maybe let me go research, find out what exercise I can do to improve it. And it's like, if it doesn't work, then maybe go see a doctor.
Yeah.
And I think that point that you made about journaling, that is such a good point. And I'm just actually thinking about doing that like now, because I'm just like, that's a pretty good point, because it's like when I go to the doctor, and if it's really that bad, then they're going to ask me like, when did this happen? How did this happen? What did you do? It will save them so much. It will save me so much more meetings and save them time, because I've already gotten all this like noted down. I've tried like so many hundreds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. I think it comes back to that self-advocating bit, and your body will always try to sell you something is wrong with you. Like I had a chronic cough, itchy skin, shoulder pain a little bit, neck area. That was my body telling me something is not right. Like something is not right in your body. And as guys, as men, we tend to ignore that. We tend to go, it's just a cough. Oh, it's just a little bit of itchy skin. It's fine. Oh, it's just a bit of shoulder pain. I pulled it at the gym. Those were the excuses I was making, for myself. And it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with doing that either. Like, as in, you don't want to be told that you have something very serious going on in your body and you have to go through very intensive treatment. No one wants to do that, right? There's a fear of anxiety. There's a bit of denial there. There's also not wanting to confront those things, and that's perfectly okay. Like I'm first to say that, but you'll save yourself a lot of time, trouble, and give yourself a chance to live a better life if you address those things. And you need to recognize patterns in your pain, in what your body's trying to tell you. Like, I'm just speaking from a lymphoma perspective, but I had a cough for like 6 months. That was my body trying to tell me something. I ignored it until the very end. People that might have some bowel issues, or they might feel pain in certain areas, and it's consistent pain. It's not going away. You've done some, like you said, you've done some stretches. You've gone to the gym. You're trying to like stretch your waist, your hip muscles, reflexes, get more flexibility. Still doesn't work. You should then go get that checked, for example, right? Like, journaling and finding patterns is very important in what your body's trying to tell you, because your body is actually it's very complex but very simple. If something's wrong, it will tell you something's wrong. You have a runny nose. Why do you have a runny nose? Well, there's 2 reasons: allergies, or it's a virus. If you have a virus, it's because you might have what sort of virus is it? Influenza A, B, pneumonia. What color is your snot? Is it red? Is it yellow? Is it green? Is it clear? Those things will tell you straight away. For example, your body's trying to tell you something. You vomit, nausea. Why? Your body is recognizing there's something in your body that shouldn't be there. It's a reactive system, I think, something along those lines. I'm not even using the right medical term. But coughing, same thing. You're trying to get things out of your body. When you sweat, on like incredible amounts of sweating, if you have a fever, if you have pain, consistent pain in one area, why do you have that pain? Like, there's so many things your body will tell you, and you have to take that seriously. Like, you have to if you want to give yourself the best chance of survival and give yourself, a chance of good treatment, etc., you need to listen to those things.
Think as well, it's like quite incredible when you think about it, like how our body gives us like not just the physical signals, but also like gut as well, warning you from something. Maybe it's just like ancestral or something. Like, a lot of the time where we probably made decisions, and most of the time like the gut was the most reliable, or probably in hindsight the most correct. So it's interesting how like the body's always trying to give you warnings ahead of time, or that there's something serious going on that you should pay attention to it. And it's actually incredible how we like the action of me moving my hand. I don't have to think. I don't have to do billions of computations telling like the electron in my head, or like not the electron, like electrical impulses in my brain signaling to the right areas of my hand to move this. It's happening like subconsciously. And I think it's just incredible how, even though there's so many things that might be going wrong, we're still able to still go about our day without until it comes to a point where we can't. But it's just like the body is really like powerful when you put into that perspective of how it's like when you have a system software, if something, it depends on how it's coded, but a lot of the time if something goes wrong, then other downstream services are impacted by it. Whereas in the body, it's just like if something does go wrong, it still is functioning, but it takes a long period of time to the point that it just can't anymore. But there's so many symptoms and warnings that happened prior to it that would have, led to that outcome. So very important to definitely listen to the body. And I think even beyond just like the physical ones where it's like skin and everything, even like the thing where you're talking about patterns, like even the emotional trauma or responses that you have to certain conditions or triggers, like I don't know if it's relationships or something else, that's also very important to like take note of, and also like break down where that comes from and why that's happening and how you can deal with that a lot better. So it gives you coverage that way.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up the mental side of it as well, because there's a lot of patterns you do recognize from a mental perspective. A lot of people have different traumas, different triggers, and it's why I have those triggers. I can't even look at liquid red without starting to feeling nauseated and feel like I'm going to vomit.
Do you feel like you're going to faint as well, or
no? Just feel like I'm going to vomit. Because as soon as they start infusing you with that, you're just talking about it is making me feel a bit.
Yeah,
But
let's
no,
skip
but I'll
topic.
just I'll mention it very quickly. Like just as soon as they start infusing you with it, you feel it in your stomach.
Okay,
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it's a strange thing, your brain. Like it's so adaptable, and it's like your mind knows everything about you. And it shows up at the wrong times as well. I think David Goggins says it as well. Like it's the only thing in this world that knows all your insecurities, weaknesses, strengths, knows you inside out, and it'll show up at the time where it'll show up at the worst time and just make you feel worthless or make you feel like you don't want to do something. Like waking up at 5 o'clock, what stops you? Not your physical, it's your brain, it's your mind that comes in out of nowhere. It's like, no, choose the snooze, choose the comfort.
honestly, when you put it that way, I'm sort of thinking of us like the final bosses in the world. It's actually the mind.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
You're always competing against the insecurities that your mind is very aware about and takes advantage of.
Big time. Like your mind will just, yeah. Your mind will find ways to destroy you but you need to find a way to control it and understand that you're actually more powerful than it. Powerful. Ironic as it sounds, because it's you against you. But yeah.
Yeah.
But that's been the journey, dude. Like I know we're going to put out more episodes with where I talk about it mid-treatment, after treatment, all those feelings and that sort of stuff. But it's good. Like it's good to be back now and having these conversations, and never lost that ability to have those conversations, to be honest. And glad we did. It's a big part that helped with recovery.
Yeah, no, this episode was very valuable, and I think it's like valuable for everyone. And I think it's actually quite inspiring, the fact that you've gone through all of that traumatic experience and like so much stress and anxiety, and obviously like it's still affecting you today as well. But the fact that you've gone through all of that and you're rapidly on this recovery journey as well, like you're recovering at a lot faster pace than many other people otherwise. And I think part of that is credit to yourself and like also obviously like friends and family that have supported you as well throughout it. But like it's like the mindset that you have, and that the fact that I think these days, which is good to see, is that you're trying to be more kinder to yourself. Like you're celebrating those small wins. And I think that's a very good point as well, because I think even beyond like the physical one, because most people do focus a lot on that, it's just like even like the emotional side. Because like imagine day one when you heard the news where you were diagnosed, you were just obviously like depressed or just absolutely like at the lowest point of your life ever probably. But then as you got through that and you now have some time to sort of process it, it's just like now it's just like instead of being at the lowest point, you're a bit higher now. Like there's a ladder. You're getting a few steps up away from that dark feeling. Even though it might still exist sometimes, it's like a lot less intense than it was before. And I feel like that in itself, beyond just the physical, like the fact that you're processing those emotions and the sort of finding a way to convert it into something much more powerful and less in a way that's controlling you, that in itself is something to sort of embrace and celebrate as well. Because the physical stuff, like your hair and everything will come back for sure, and like your stamina, your heart beating, all of that will come. But I think it's just like the emotional side is also something that like to process through that is like something that people should celebrate. I think like you're on you went from the darkest place of the planet to now like towards like the other side where it's greener. I think that is something that you should really like embrace and like appreciate about yourself, because no, I don't think any amount of money, even a relationship, like you can have the best partner or like whatever, can really get you through that from point darkest place on the planet to that area to like where you have the silver lining.
Yeah. No, thank you. Those words mean a lot, and it's really kind of you to say all of that. But I know I definitely agree, and I appreciate that. I also think it prepares you to face darker times as well, because as hard as annoying or as weird as it sounds, this was only the lowest point of my life so far. And you hope there's no other lowest points, but you don't know. Life is unpredictable. So you've just got to find a way to deal with it. And I think, yeah, things like this prepare you for that, you know, the silver linings of gratitude. But yeah, no matter money, you're right, no matter money, partner, anything you have will prepare you for a cancer diagnosis and treatment. You can have the best treatment in the world, but what you have to go through it is what you'll only know, you know, you'll only know that. So yeah, no, thank you. We'll wrap up here, but more episodes to come. This will be the first one out.
Yeah, no, I think like thanks for coming on this episode and
No,
us continuing this as well
for sure.
episode. But yeah, appreciate your